There we go. Good evening, everybody, and welcome. Welcome to Season 5, Round 9, here at SAFRL. It's Monday night. It's Tier 1. It's the penultimate round of Season 5. And the championship could possibly be sealed this evening. Not extremely likely, but it is a possibility. Obviously tonight, for round 9, we are at the circuit Spa-Francorchamps. The only circuit on the calendar, just over 7 kilometers. So although it is a quick circuit, it still takes a lot of time to get around here for an out lap and an in lap. So just the 18 minutes in the single qualifying session, you need to get out there. If you get a couple of invalidated, time runs out quickly. Good evening to Sean in the comment section, as well as Billy. Already quite a few people watching. Great to see. Still early stages of qualifying. No lap times on our screen, and already we have a bit of an audience. Here we have definitely Duke. He is in the Red Bull for round 9 and round 10, as far as I know. Will be taking over this seat for the final 2 rounds. It's Midas, Simps, Notshubi, Cheddar, Buffelsfontein, Wizards, Jacques and Thiago all out on track. The rest of your field remain in the pits for now. Obviously just confirmation there of your tyres, but no surprises. Everybody is out on a set of softs, as expected. Let's ride with the Red Bull of Duke. Get a little bit of a view of the circuit as he begins his first flying lap of the evening. Into turn 1. Use all of the corner on the exit. Get the best traction you can. And then a Rouge ready on up the hill. And get ready to switch on DRS. And just like in Vegas, you run out of gears, 340 kilometers an hour down the straight into the chicane that breaks everything up quite nicely. That chicane never used to exist. You can imagine what speed you'd be doing when you arrived here. As I said, longest circuit on the calendar. Don't want to get your qualifying run wrong. Can run out of time in this session very quickly. This is Midas. Also starting his fast lap, activates DRS. Similar speed as we saw on the other driver there, 341 kilometers an hour. Here's his teammate, Logic. The only car remaining in the pits is Django. Everyone else out on track. First lap times now coming up. Simps provisional pole 141.8. Duke has gone second with a 142.6, and now Wizards 142.7. 141.7. Cheddar goes into provisional pole. Lap times between first and second still very close. Just a tenth of a second between the two. It's Midas goes over the line, puts himself up into P3 at 142.5. Still a little off the top two. Here we have Brands. He's going to go over the line any moment now. As we say that, Brands comes into the pits. And we've missed Logic go over the line, but he's gone over the line. It's a 141.6, fastest lap of the evening. And 0.2 of a second. Cover your top three. Here we have another man to watch this evening. It's going to be quick. Don Rabico, there we go. I said it, 141.6, another 141.6. So now 0.2 cover the top four. I was going to say let's go to the second McLaren, but I don't think he wants us to ride on board with him right now. Django's on an outlap. He has not set a lap time. Brands is in the pits without setting a lap time. And Welsh, I think, has damaged his car. Tiago Maestro has ended his session. Best he can finish is P9, but that's only if no one behind him is able to improve. Don Rabico, P1, Logic P2, then it's the second AlphaTauri. We see him coming into the pits right now. Simps was on provisional pole, now he's 0.2 behind and in fourth place. And we have a bit of a gap down to its Midas and P5, 142.5. And then a whole handful of cars really close together again. But that lead group, in a league of their own. See, quite a few people are watching on the stream. Welcome also to Tiago there in the comment section. See, you've just left the session. Is that a DNF mistake on track, or are you happy with that lap time? Here is your provisional pole sitter. He returns to the pits, 141.6. Logic not far behind, also 141.6. 600s cover the two. Then Cheddar in P3, 141.7, and Simps 141.8. That is your lead group in qualifying so far. The top four quite a way ahead. Midas P5, and Duke is out on a second run. Guys, remember, if you're watching, whether you're watching this live or whether you're watching this later, it doesn't really matter. But if you are watching and you haven't left a like, and if you haven't subscribed to the channel, don't forget to do that. This is Buffelsfontein in the first of the two Ferraris. He's got a 142.6. And he's in P7. Midas, Simps, Cheddar on outlaps. Logic and Rabico remain in the pits. Django also out on a fast lap. Lots of action out on track. Wish we had more camera angles. Wish we had that F1 TV switch screen. That would be great right about now. Cars going slowly, cars going quickly, just so much action on track. The guys on outlaps trying to stay out of the way. That Aston Martin will continue to fall down the grid as drivers improve. Went down now from P9 to P11. This is Django. It's going slowly. Thought he was on a fast lap, but I think he's abandoned that lap. Because you can see he's used up a lot of energy and he's going slowly. I think he's just trying to recharge and have another go. That's the problem with Belgium. Mentioned it earlier. You can just run out of time. Can't afford to spend any extra time in the pits. Django was able to put himself up the grid into P2. It's another 141.6. We have 3 drivers now in the 141.6. So, what is that? 600ths of a second cover your top 3? I think that's pretty close. We're riding with Simps because, remember, he took provisional pole at the beginning of things, and now this is his second run. Current best, the 141.8. You think he's in 5th place and far behind, but he's really not. He's just a 10th of a second behind pole position. Find 2/10 here and you could be well clear. It's right on board with him. Get a feel of the lap. Tiago's saying his tires exploded in quali. He must have really pushed those tires. Here we go. Here's Simps into this final chicane and he's pulling into the pits. Obviously wasn't going to improve on that time. Looked up at the time, saw 5.5 minutes and said, let me get another set of tires and have another go. This is Don Ravico, currently on provisional pole, the 141.6. He did go fastest in sector 1. Cheddar goes fastest, 141.3, and the AlphaTauris. The AlphaTauris first and second. Don Ravico wants that P1 back from his teammate. We'll see if he'll be able to take it. Goes over the line now. And he does take it back. Nicely done, a 141.2. And the AlphaTauris have just opened up the field a little bit. They're in the top order. We have Brands currently in P10. 142.7 having a second run. Welsh also on a second run. Aston Martin continuing to fall down the field. One man we haven't spoken too much about, but he does have pace. And when he's able to stitch a lap together, he can really raise an eyebrow. That is yes, there we go, the second Red Bull. Couldn't see where the other one was. That's Duke up in P6. This is the second Red Bull of Notsumi. He's a quick driver. Just sometimes battles to put the perfect lap together, but when he does get all 3 of those sectors together, he could put something together really special. For now, the 2 AlphaTauris, they are walking tall. P1, P2. And they've actually built up a bit of a gap. Remember, that top 4 was just covered by a 10th of a second. And that has changed. Here we go with Welsh. He appears to be going slowly. And this is supposed to be his fast lap, so I'm going to guess he invalidated that one. Really easy to invalidate at this circuit. Even if you're not cutting corners, most of the time it's about running wide. When you're trying to use all of the racetrack feel like you're running off the racetrack, but you don't want to get off the power. You think, I'll take a little bit of curb, and you'll end up taking a little too much. There we go. Natsumi goes ahead of his teammate, 142 flat, and it's good enough for P6. Demotes his teammate to P7. But as things stand, according to the Red Bull powertrain cars, the AlphaTauris lead the way from the Red Bulls. I would actually love to know what would happen in the Red Bull garage if this was a result that happened on a weekend. I think at that point everyone would get fired, including Marco. Don Rabico has retired from the session, so there will be no improvements from him. No time to get out there anyway. Not Shumi on an in lap, it's Midas. He's on an out lap, or on a fast lap rather, currently in P8, 142.5. You might think, P8, what's it's Midas doing in P8? He's a quick driver, but look at those lap times. There's really nothing wrong with being in P8. P8 means you're 0.3 of a second off pole. Cheddar, on the other hand, he's not happy with second place. He did get out for an out lap, unlike his teammate. And now he just needs to get over the checkered. Needs to get over the start-finish line before the checkered flag falls, so he can get that final run. Simps P5, 141.8. And Natsumi, his session has come to an end. Done all he could. Jacques has slotted himself up into P7. I didn't even recognize the Ferrari there for a second. I have no idea. I thought that was an Aston Martin. Not an Aston Martin. I thought that was an Alfa Romeo for a second. Really nice livery. I wish these liveries would simply just... I hope it's a permanent livery. I hope it stays on the game, doesn't get taken away. Say one of my favorite temporary liveries was that white and red Japan Red Bull livery, and that was added to the game for about a period of 2 weeks. Here we have Cheddar, currently in P2. Just needs to find that little extra. It needs to find 0.09 of a second, and that'll put him ahead of his teammate. Not much difference between first and second. It's really all about what happens in turn 1. But Cheddar wants the bragging rights. Not happy with second place. Not happy with a 1/10 of a second off the pace. But now runs wide. Hope he wasn't listening to me. But Cheddar runs wide, and that's the end of his lap. Now Django over the line. And that's his session done. A 141.4. Isn't able to improve his position. Now Logic, the next man to go over the line. Currently a 141.6. He does improve. Nice lap time. 141.3, and breaks the AlphaTauri domination at the top of the field. I think Duke has pulled out of this lap. Yes, he has. And we saw Cheddar running wide. So that is your qualifying session. Obviously now we're just going to wait for the official results. Don't like reading the results out and then penalties change everything. No penalties that we know of. There's your official results. P1, AlphaTauri, Don Rabico, then Logic in P2 for Mercedes. The second AlphaTauri heads the second row. That's Cheddar. Then Django P4, Simps P5. Natsumi gets a lap time at the end there. Goes P6, Brands P7, Shark P8, Wizards in 9th, and Duke makes up your top 10. On the other side of the top 10, we've got its Midas P11, Ruan P12, Biffelsfontein P13, Welsh 14, and then Tiago Maestro with the apparently exploding tyres. I don't have footage of that. Just taking the driver's word. He makes up the field in 15th. Some support already coming through early on for Logic. It's going to be all about who gets into turn 1 first. Pole position is important, but who comes out on the right side of turn 1? I think that's even more important. Just a short break now before the beginning of the race. Guys finalizing their strategies. 22 lap race around a 7-kilometer circuit. And if we do get safety cars, it can turn into quite a long one. In fact, I drove in a 100% race here at Spa on the game that it was the one and only race I've ever been in that we got to the 2-hour cutoff limit. We didn't finish the laps. The game cut us off. If you do get multiple safety cars, 7-kilometer circuit, if it's multiple laps, it'll take an awful lot of time to get around here. But enough of that. Red lights are on, red lights are off, and the drivers are off. And here we go, turn 1. It can be a tricky one. Don Rabico pretty cleanly through there. Then we've got the Mercedes holding on to its position. That's Logic Cheddar P3. Nothing too crazy into turn 1. It's a long race. Lots can happen. Simps P4, Django P5, Wizards P6, Brands P7. Natsumi, he's lost 2 positions down into P8. Midas P9. And then Jacques making up the top 10. Race has been neutralized for the time being. We have a safety car. Unfortunately for us, all that action happened off screen and we didn't see it, but as you can see on your timing screen, we have 2 retirements, and unless those are 2 separate incidents that happened at a very similar time, gotta assume that those 2 cars were involved in a collision of some sorts, but I stand to be corrected. But as we lose Tiago from the track, hopefully we can gain him in the comment section and he can let us know what exactly transpired there on lap 1 of 22. Since the virtual safety car, it has been promoted to a full safety car. And I was talking about safety cars while we were sitting on the grid, and here we are. First safety car, lap 1 of 22. Hope you're underfueled. Otherwise, you're going to finish with a lot of fuel at the end of this race. Remember, we are under safety car conditions. No pit stops, because this is lap 1. Don Rabico leads the way from Logic. Second AlphaTauri, Cheddar in P3. Simps P4, Django P5. And now they'll all just be hoping for that confirmation of safety car in this lap. They want to get going again. They want to push. Belgium with its extremely long straights and sweeping fast corners. It can be extremely frustrating driving behind the safety car for multiple laps. If anybody does know, can you give me any sort of confirmation on the weather? Will it remain dry? Sky does look a little dodgy. It's Midas has picked up a 5-second penalty. We didn't see it on screen, but it appears there was contact, and Natsumi is missing an end plate on the left-hand side of that front wing. So, seems like contact under safety car between Natsumi and Midas. Things can be so difficult behind the safety car. You think, how can these guys crash into each other when they're driving so slowly? But car in front of you outbrakes himself a little. You do the same thing, causes a chain reaction. If you're lucky not to get contact, someone down the line probably is. Really just got to maintain your distance under safety car, but it's a fine balance. You don't want the car in front of you to be too far ahead at the restart, but you don't want to be close enough that if that car makes any sort of mistake, it can cost you a front wing. Good evening to Andre. Welcome to the comment section. Welcome to SAFRL round 9, season 5. This is the penultimate round. And then obviously next week we have the finale in Brazil. A track that for many years was the actual finale of the F1 calendar. Seems like the Aston Martin is having a fantastic time leading this race, so he's going to do it for one more lap. Safety car stays out. Seems like the whole field is together. We do have Natsumi in the pits, but he'll be able to catch up to this queue before the end of the lap, and hopefully we'll be underway shortly. Don't expect this to be the last safety car. Looking at some of the winners and losers from a race start perspective. Biggest gainers, that's Wizards and Midas. They've picked up 3 positions apiece. And then Natsumi, biggest loser at the start of the race. He's lost 7 positions. But on the upside, it happened under safety car, which means he's able to catch up to the queue. If that had happened under racing conditions, he would have been a good 15, 18 seconds behind the field. So he still has an opportunity to come back in this race. And remember, another safety car can still play a part in switching everything around. Evening as well to Maggot in the comment section. It's really great to see lots of people on the channel, lots of people watching for the penultimate round. And remember, next week is the finale. Championship could be wrapped up tonight, but it would take some extreme circumstances. Two Red Bulls have both made early pit stops under safety car, so the Red Bulls will commence this restart from the back of the field. And then just on your tyre selection, Don Rabico, leader of the race, he's on a set of softs. Logic and Cheddar, the other AlphaTauri, they're on a set of mediums. as is Sims, Django and Windsors. So Rabico, he is out in front, but the safety car really didn't play in his favor. When you start the race with the softest compound, your plan is to get out as far ahead as you possibly can and then get rid of those softs. And that safety car kept second place right on his gearbox up until lap 4. And I think he would have hoped to have made quite a bit of progress by now. And now he's coming under pressure from Logic. There we go, they almost touch. Who's going to come out best? It's going to be the Mercedes, I think. They're still wheel to wheel. The second AlphaTauri is trying not to get involved. But there we go. Fantastic driving. The Mercedes comes out on top for now. And remember, there's no DRS involved in this. The AlphaTauris are coming back. They're bullying this Mercedes. And all the while, they're trying to stay out of trouble from Sims. It's mayhem at the start. Trying to give the guys further back a little bit of coverage, but this is crazy out front. Logic leads the way from the two AlphaTauris, Simpson P4, Django P5. And we have Windsor's P6, Brands in 7th. It's Midas, only the second driver on track that is on a set of softs. I think he may have some early pace. Those softs may just help him come through the field a little bit. As for his teammate, he's still out in front. Logic leads the way, but not by much. He's got Don Rabico right behind him on a set of softs. And he'll be frustrated. Knows he needs to be out front with that soft compound. Doesn't want to be in second place. DRS will soon be enabled. I do apologize about the background noise. That's a lot of thunder. And there's nothing I can do about that. Thunder in the comms box, hopefully not out on track. Logic stays in front. Nicely done. Part of that is he stayed in front, and I think part of that is the AlphaTauri just said, no way. There's still a long way to go and this could end badly. Logic leads, then we have the two AlphaTauris, Rabico and Cheddar. Simpson P4, he wants a podium tonight, as does Django and Windsors. They're not far behind. In fact, no one's far behind. We're about to see a huge DRS train. It's Midas, the second Mercedes. Remember, he's on softs. He's going to be looking to get through that field with some superior traction, because he's going to have to get rid of those softs pretty soon. We have three drivers out on track that started with a very different strategy. That is Brands, actually just Brands. Brands started on the hard tyre. And then we have the two Red Bulls also on the hard tyre, but they had issues early on in this race. Logic still leads, but things are going to get interesting any second now. Saw the confirmation on the top of your screens. DRS has been enabled. And defending is going to become a lot more difficult. Rabico in P2. Cheddar in P3. Both these drivers still have mathematical chances of winning the championship, so there's going to be no team play. There we go. The two AlphaTauris and the McLaren. The McLaren, this is going to be a mess. These guys are driving so close and they're on the limit. And it just shows really the quality of driving in this field. Multiple laps, so close together on the edge. And we haven't seen contact yet. Great stuff from the top four. Might not be any teamwork or switching positions here at AlphaTauri, but one thing they won't want to do is have a collision. And these two cars are incredibly close together. There we go. Now Cheddar gets past his teammate. Cheddar and Rabico, they're going to be on two very different strategies. Remember, Cheddar needs to go. He's on a set of mediums. Rabico's on a set of softs, and I wonder, when do those tires begin to fall off? And is him giving up that position to his teammate just the first signs that those tires are going off? Doesn't seem to be the case for Midas. Remember, he also started on softs. And he's coming through the field quite nicely. Midas up into P5. His teammate still leads the way. Billy saying all the Fanatec boys out in front. Lots of practice, lots of dedication, and lots of patience. That's the only way you get to being this quick and this consistent lap after lap. And unfortunately, I don't hold those qualities. Simps is up into P3. Rabico is beginning to go backwards, and I wonder if that's the tires. Just 6 laps on the tires, and most of those laps were under safety car, so I don't think his tires should be off. Maybe just overheated his tires trying to attack logic. But he is safe for now because Midas is still a way down the road, 1.5 seconds away. Django's in P6, Brand 7, Buffelsfontein in the first of the two Ferraris. He's in P8. And we have Natsumi in 9th and Windsor in P10. Here we go, Andre just confirming that Cheddar, well, Cheddar is on a controller. Well, in fact, there was a driver on the F1 game, a popular YouTuber, extremely quick, and for some reason he just never had a wheel. He did all his laps on the controller, and he was consistently in the top 10 of the worldwide leaderboard. And after qualifying for esports, he actually had to learn how to drive on a wheel. So it is possible to be in the top 10 in the world on a controller. It's really about maximizing whatever equipment you're on. Just a few comparisons coming in here in the comment section between some different wheel sets, and there will always be a difference. But there we go, we've got a McLaren going sideways. Ooh, and that was a harder hit than I was expecting. Is that the rear suspension? Oh, there we go. Thought the wheel looked a bit off, but the McLaren is on its way. It does have all its end plates. And Simps now falls to the back of the field, and the McLaren's not having the day they would have wanted. Back to that chat about the wheel versus the controller. I think that obviously there are advantages to having the best of the best, but like I said, I think if you're able to absolutely maximize what you're using, you're going to be quick regardless. Logic now takes the lead of the race as the AlphaTauri and the Mercedes continue to switch positions. Django's gone up into P3, Midas is now in P4. Rabico has come into the pits, so he's got rid of that set of softs, and I don't believe he will be planning to stop again. Logic still leads the way. Cheddar still P2. Just half a second between them. Then Django is still firmly within DRS. Remember, it's a lot more difficult when you're in a DRS train because you don't get the full effect of DRS because the driver in front of you, well, he's got it too. So while you want to stay in DRS, you're also hoping that the DRS train can brake so you can get the advantage on that car ahead of you. Midas comes into the pits. His teammate stays out in the lead. Logic and Cheddar, as well as Django, the top three. That is your podium position so far. They're all on the same strategy. They all started on a set of mediums. There we go, Cheddar into the lead. Logic's going to come back at him. This is going to be back and forth, back and forth. And you've got to wonder if the continuous battling is just going to take a bit of life off those tyres. Not Shumi and Brands, they're in P4 and 5 and they're on sets of hards. So they'll be going deep into this race. They're on a completely different strategy in this race. But that is also as a result of some misfortunes at the start of the race. Some penalties now starting to appear on our screens. Brands has a 5-second penalty, which I can only assume is for speeding in the pit lane. And Buffelsfontein with a 3-second penalty, which can only be for track limits. Still with your leaders, and I think we may have a position change again. No, we don't. Mercedes just... Ooh, what happened there? Mercedes came into the pits. I got a fright. I forgot where the pit entry was. Logic disappeared from our screens. I got a fright. But Django gets promoted up into P2 as Logic dives into the pits. Now remember, Cheddar will be on exactly the same strategy. They're both on a set of mediums. The plan here will be to come out in some clean air with a brand new set of tyres and undercut the AlphaTauri. I think we'll see Cheddar coming in the very next lap to minimize any damage that may have already been caused. Really depends on the tyre situation and also the track. We've seen situations where the undercut simply doesn't work, and we've seen tracks where the undercut is extremely strong. Logic was the first one to jump. He went into the pits first here from your leaders, and we'll see how that all pans out for him later on in the race. Not Shumi. He's up into P3. He's had quite the eventful race, hasn't he? Remember, he's on a very different strategy. He's on a set of hards and looking to take this deep into the race. He will probably have to pit again. Brands is in P4. He's got that 5-second penalty. That will be added to his next pit stop. And if he doesn't have a next pit stop, it will be added at the end of the race. But I believe he has not pit yet. There we go. Cheddar has responded, as does Django. Let's see how strong that undercut was. Here is Logic. Nothing. Well, that didn't work at all. Logic came into the pits first. And now we have the two AlphaTauris, Linus Stern in P6 and P7. And I think once everybody else has made their pit stops here in the top 5, it could be back to an AlphaTauri 1-2. How did they get that right? I think AlphaTauri just did an overcut. Of course, we were not driving on board with logic. It's very possible that he came out in traffic or just didn't have a good outlap. And of course, if you don't have a good outlap, then the undercut will not apply. Up at the front, Notsumi leads the way. More common sight that we're all used to. A Red Bull out front all by itself. But this is purely a cosmetic lead. He knows he needs to pit again. Wishing he didn't have that contact early on in the race. And he was able to get away from 6th cleanly. What could have been. But F1 is a sport of what ifs. Ooh, we have a crash. I think this is going to be a safety car. Ruan coming out of turn 1. A little bit too greedy on the accelerator. Loses the traction. Puts the car sideways into the wall. It's a yellow flag. But no confirmation of a safety car, and we're underway. Really thought that may have triggered something. Sim says the two McLarens have both DNF'd from the race. The Alfa Romeo of Ruan and the Aston Martin of Thiago early on in this race. Haas up the inside of Midas. That's Windsor's. Still a lot of action here in the midfield. Drivers jockeying for position. This is the middle part of the race. So crucial. This is when you need to bang in the laps consistently. If you're out front, you're hoping to build a gap. If you're in the midfield, you're hoping someone makes a mistake. Look at that, folks. I'm not quite sure how it happened, but we have a Red Bull 1-2. Remember, these guys were last and second last on lap 1. Disappointing there for Ruan. Some of these drivers have multiple fans here in the comment section, and when things don't go well for their driver, it's not what you want to see. 4 retirements. It's Ruan, Sims, Welsh and Thiago. That means that we will not have any Alfa Romeos, McLarens or Aston Martins finishing this race, because Ruan and Thiago started without teammates, and the other two are McLarens. Back at the top 3, Duke is now leading the race, as Shumi did eventually come into the pits. He will surely come into the pits on the very next lap. We have Buffelsfontein here in P2, but he does have penalties next to his name. He's got that 3-second penalty, and that is track limits. And then Cheddar. Cheddar leads, technically leads. He doesn't lead, but I think everyone knows what I mean. He's the net leader of the race. I believe that's the right way of saying it. He's the net leader of this race. And in net P2, it's logic. So he's cleared Rabico, he's cleared the second AlphaTauri, and these two, which have been in battle for most of the race, and it's been a pleasure to watch. And it looks like their battle will continue. Buffelsfontein now into the pits, as is definitely Duke, and that releases the drivers who were in the top 4. They're back in the top 4. This is a fantastic recovery drive for the Red Bull driver. Not Shumi. Remember, he had a difficult start to this race, had to make a pit stop. He actually got damage under safety car. Led this race for a little bit, had to make the pit stop. Now comes out on a brand new set of softs and he's in P6. So the race could still swing back to him and give him a decent result. But back in the front, Logic leads the way. He has broken Cheddar's lead. But remember, DRS. Cheddar will come back. Rabico, he'll feel like he's being left behind just a little. Desperately trying to stay in the DRS of his teammate so he can continue to get towed around. Moment he's not being towed around, he may fall into the clutches of the Williams behind him. And he doesn't want that. Logic leads, and now look at that gap. He's breaking away. 1.2 seconds. These two looked so similar in pace, so close on the pace on the mediums, but now on the set of hards. Seems like... Oh, and there we go. There's your explanation. There's your explanation. I didn't see it on the screens. I apologize for not seeing it, but Cheddar has left the lobby, and that means that car will ghost until he is able to return to the car. If he is able to return to the car, that car will continue to now fall down the field. Don Rabico, surely he'll get past his teammate in the very next DRS zone, but he's coming under pressure as well. Django looking to get past both AlphaTauris in one corner, thinks better of it. We'll just keep our eyes on that car of Cheddar, keep an eye on it, see if he's able to retake control. But for the time being, seems like things have been handed to Logic. Now has a 3-second lead. Don Rabico becomes the leading AlphaTauri. Django still P3. And the unfortunate sight of Cheddar's car ghosting in P4, knowing that car is just going to continue falling down the order. What is the AI set to? I'm not 100% sure, but its Midas is falling down the order, but I wouldn't say he's falling down the order. Sorry, not its Midas, Cheddar rather, is falling down the order, but I wouldn't say he's falling down the order at a alarming rate. So I'd say these AI are set pretty high. At least a lot higher than some of the other leagues I've commentated on. Sometimes you see a car ghost and it really just drops down the field within 2 or 3 laps. But as you can see, he's not falling too dramatically, still holding on to 4th place. Now Django gets past the AlphaTauri. We have a Mercedes Power 1-2. Sport for Logic, 3.5 seconds is the gap. Comment section getting, some of the comment section getting behind Logic, some of the comment section crying for Cheddar. So unfortunate when a race is determined by virtual factors outside of our control, but that car is no longer ghosting, and hopefully that means Cheddar can still make some sort of progress in the next 5 laps. At the front though, Django still defends from Rabico. Logic seems to have this sorted. 3.5 seconds. Really just just mustn't do anything silly, mustn't get too excited, go for any last lap heroics, and he should be able to hold on to this lead. Closing a 3.5 second gap for the lead in the final 5 laps of the race would be impressive. Just don't think we're going to see that. Back to the man in P3. Still in DRS, still fighting for P2. Seems like Cheddar is back in the car. But not Shumi has just got past him and Shumi up into P4. Sharks has the fastest lap of the race and he's in P11. Got the guys at the back of the field setting the fastest laps. Logic, what has happened to Logic? Logic has retired from the session. There we go, we just got a glimpse of his car. It was on the left hand side. Let's have a look if it's still there. We can have a look. There we go, the car's disappeared from our screens. We can't see it. But he was facing the wrong way and up against an Armco barrier. So Logic, after looking so strong in this race, after looking like he really had things sewn up, well, he has caused complete pandemonium towards the end of this race. Folks, if you're watching, I can see there's about 20 of you on the stream watching right now, and you really want to stay tuned for the last 4 or 5 laps of this race. Most of them are going to be under safety car, but we're going to get a 1 or 2 lap shootout to the end. Some of these guys, they will come in, they will take a roll of the dice, they will come and put on a brand new set of softs if they still have a brand new set of softs. And who knows what can happen at that restart. We've got just confirmation of the AI. It is set to 70, so not too fast, but not too slow either. Thanks Sean. This is lap 19 of 22. And we're in for something special right at the end here. Just have a look at the screen, folks. Look at the screen. Look at the tires. We've got Django and Rabico. They're in P1 and P2. They're the favorites for this race so far. But they're on a set of hards. And they're on a set of aging hards. Those aren't brand new hards. Not Shumi. Relatively new set of softs. Not the best. Midas. Aging set of mediums. And then everyone behind them. P5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. New sets of softs. And those tires could come through the field. Just 1 or 2 laps to go at the end of the race. No tire management needed. And if you're feeling brave, we might just see a lunge or 2. But hopefully no madness. Definitely won't be easy, but if you do have a new set of softs, someone's battling in front of you with an older set of hards, just struggling to get the tires up to temperature, and they're not going to have much time to get them up to temperature. Probably a maximum of 2 laps at the end here, unless we get confirmation of the safety car coming in. I do see the whole field is together, so we might see the safety car coming in any time now. And that'll give us 2 laps of racing. Rather 3 laps of racing. I don't know, don't trust my maths. So many people watching tonight. It's probably been one of the best streams of the season. Really great racing, wheel-to-wheel action. And every time we thought the race was swinging in one direction, we'd have a retirement or a mistake. And now Django leads the race. Rabico in P2, but remember his hards are 11 laps old. Don't know how much grip he's going to have at the end here. Safety car did not come in. So I believe when the safety car does come in, we'll just have lap 21 and lap 22. A 2-lap sprint race to the end with half the field on brand new tyres. Anything can happen. In fact, it's exactly the sort of race you want to see. A race you can sit and watch for over an hour, 22 laps. And with just 2 laps to go, you still have no idea who's going to win. I think that's why the stream's doing so well. No one's clearly going to win this race just yet. We now await that confirmation that the safety car will come in. Now as we head into Sector 3, surely we will get that confirmation shortly. There we go, safety car in this lap. Safety car has now pulled off into the distance and he's going to enter the pit lane any moment now. Django is effectively the virtual safety car. He leads the way, he decides when the race restarts. But remember, no overtaking. No overtaking till the start finish line. And here we go. This will be a very exciting final chapter in what's been a fantastic race so far. Django leads the way, Rabico P2, not Shumi. He's up into P3, Midas down a position. P4, Cheddar also P5. Then we have Buffelsfontein in 6th, Brand 7th, Winston's 8th, Shark in 9th, and Duke in 10th. Django leads the way, Rabico leads the way. Django P2, not Shumi. Remember, he's got those softs, but they're not the freshest softs on the circuit. They're 7 laps old. But no tyre management really needed at this point in the race. Lap 21 of 22. Cheddar up into P4. Brands P5, Midas P6. Windsor's P7, then the pair of Mercedes. If I'm not mistaken, I think the pair of Ferraris rather. I think the 2 Ferraris and the 2 Red Bulls, those are the only 2 teammates left out on circuit. Everyone else has lost their teammate. Rabico leads. For the time being, doesn't look like Django is able to stay with him. P3 still far from decided. P2 still far from decided. And now Natsumi goes up the inside. Brave move. But the Williams stays in front. Nicely done. And that's just going to affect his run. May let Cheddar come at the Red Bull. And wow. I don't even know what to say. Did you see that? Cheddar went from 4th to 2nd. in turn 1. If you're gonna have a lunge, do it properly. Didn't push anyone wide, didn't outbrake himself, got it just right. And we have an AlphaTauri 1-2 from seemingly nowhere. Django, he's in third, and he's fighting off Brands. Brands hasn't been at the top looking at a podium for the entire race, and now all of a sudden staring third place in the face. Natsumi looked stronger early on, but maybe those tyres not as fresh as he'd like them to be. Brand still fighting. Django trying to stay with the AlphaTauris, and I don't think the AlphaTauris have quite decided who's going to win this race. Comments in the comment section reflecting the driving we see here on track. Such close driving, wheel to wheel. Everyone is on the absolute limit, and the mistakes have been rare. Look at this, side by side. What can I say? Who's going to be the first one over the line? I don't think I've ever seen something quite like this. Cheddar and Don Rabico. P1, P2, 3/100ths of a second between the AlphaTauris. And well, not often speechless, but on this particular night, what do I say? 3/100ths of a second. I had no idea who was in front. I was just waiting for the timing screen, and that was quite impressive. There we go, folks. There are your official results for round 9, and what a race it was. One of the best of the season, leaving the best for last. Cheddar taking the victory. His teammate Don Rabico in P2, 3/100ths of a second, covering the top 2 drivers. Then we have Django in third, wins its fourth. Natsumi salvaged that race, P5. Then Midas, P6. Jacques and Buffelsfontein, 7 and 8. Duke in 9th, and Brands finished up in 10th. Those were your finishing drivers. 10 of the 15 that started. The 5 drivers that retired. It was Logic, who looked like he had this race completely knitted up. Instead, went off track, activated a safety car, caused complete pandemonium, and gave us one of the most exciting finishes to a race we could have ever wished to have seen. Ruan in P12, rather Ruan DNF, Simps DNF, Welsh DNF, and Thiago DNF'd on lap 1. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you, if there are any ladies, I'm not quite sure, but ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for joining us tonight, round 5. Rather, season 5, round 9 in Belgium. We will be back next week for the finale in Brazil. Tonight was a great stream, and hopefully we see more of that next week. Thank you for joining me. Thank you to all the drivers out on track. If you're watching this later on, that was a pleasure to watch. And thanks to everybody in the comment section for keeping me busy. I'll see you next week. See you then.